Hello and happy holidays. This is Alex Tabersham, publisher of the Macon Middle Georgia Black Pages. I'm so happy to inform you that we are now in the process of gathering information for the 2017 Silver Anniversary Edition. As a matter of fact, if you are in business and you want to be represented, if you want the kind of exposure that the Black Pages can offer you, then we are offering a 15% December holiday special discount for your ad so you can gain exposure, not only from the Black Pages, but through our digital marketing services. So give us a call, 50% off the regular price of advertising for the Black Pages and our digital marketing. Call us at 478-464-0074. Happy holidays to you. This is the holiday season, and then a lot of kids gonna be happy because they are gonna get toys for Christmas. But in keeping with, parents understanding that sometimes toys can be dangerous and hazardous, I thought it would not be robbery if we would do a show on toy safety with a doctor, a real doctor, a pediatric doctor, Dr. Henry LeBoyd. We'll be talking about toy safety and what to do and what not to do, what to look out for as it relates to safety in toys for children. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and as I said, we have with us Dr. Henry LeBoyd, not Boyd, but LeBoyd. And we're certainly glad to have him, not only just to talk to him, but because of the kind of information that he's going to impart. I know sometimes we get excited. We see toys on TV, we see items on TV, and we want our children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews to have those items, but, there is a safety factor that's involved in making sure that you don't regret having bought that toy or that item. As I said, we have Dr. LeBoyd with us. First of all, tell us something about yourself.
Oh, wow. So I'm new to Macon, the Macon area. I came to be a part of the Navison Health Pediatric Residency Program. I'm coming here from Atlanta. I spent 12 years there. And prior to that, I lived in New Orleans, and that's where I was born and raised. I have two kids. Springdale Elementary is where they go to school, and I'm very happy to be here. Macon was a destination of choice. When I left Atlanta, I had visited one time and decided that I visited the Warner Robins Macon area, my third year of medical school, and I already knew from that point going that this is where I would do my residency training.
Well, welcome to Macon, and we are very, very glad that you are here. Now, so you are a pediatric physician, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I decided to do pediatrics and somewhere in the middle of med school. I thought I would be like some orthopedic surgeon. But somewhere in the middle of med school, I was doing pediatric rotations. And the one thing I really appreciated about pediatrics was that when it comes to medicine, it's very difficult a lot of times to get adults to do what you ask. But when it comes to their children, it's something totally different. Yeah, it's something totally different.
That's a good observation.
Yeah. And so, I really enjoy explaining things to parents, and sometimes I really feel like I make a breakthrough. Sometimes you can see that light bulb go off with a parent when you say the right thing to help them understand why something is important. And just having a few experiences like that, it's like, all right, I can feel that, this is a good direction for me. This is a good field. And so kind of switched over, my thinking into doing pediatrics, and it's still the same today. I still like going into rooms. People sometimes complain about me because, he's been in that room too long. But after I feel like I make a connection, then, I stay with those parents, I stay with those families, and I make sure that they feel comfortable when they're being discharged from the hospital, and that's just what I love to do.
So when you go into the room, you're really talking to the parents about their children and their children's condition
and how they're going to take care of the children at home. A lot of times you leave in the hospital and you feel safe when the doctor is there. But the challenge is when you get home,
Yes, sir.
and you're managing this situation alone. And so, I'm giving you things to look for, things to know this is going in the right direction. Because sometimes you get home and something will be a little different than what you expect. And my job is to foresee those things, to tell you, hey, if you see this, don't worry. It'll be okay. Just keep on keeping on. Or if you see something that's in the wrong direction, and hey, keep your eyes on them close, because you may need to come back to us.
Right.
So, those are the things that, that I'm talking about a lot, in the rooms with parents. I got to get them ready to go home and where they feel comfortable.
A lot of people, and we've had a physician from, we've talked about the pediatric emergency room over at Navicent. But a lot of people, really didn't realize that, it really is kind of a specialty. Mm-hmm. You can't treat children the same way you treat adults because the demand for treatment and the approaches to treatment are different.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So it's really important to see, pediatric doctors whenever you can when you're dealing with children, because there's so much that's different. The vital signs are different. The blood pressure for a child is totally different from the blood pressure of an adult. So if you look at an adult blood pressure and you see that in a child and that's all you're used to, well, this child could be very hypertensive right now because it's not the same. Yeah, his heart rate is going to be different. Yeah. And so, you could be working a child up and saying, oh, this child is breathing way too fast. But a 4-year-old breathes a lot faster than a 50-year-old.
Okay.
So, you could be working up, a real bad problem, and it's really normal for the child. So, in this era that we live in now where, healthcare costs are rising, and we're trying to get a hold on those things, and those are the kind of things you have to keep in mind, because that's where you can kind of have some waste in the system, where you're looking at someone who's not used to seeing children, and they're not comfortable. This child's breathing too fast. We need to put him in the hospital. And you get a call and you say, no, that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly normal. This child can go home.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the excitement of buying and giving toys. Let's first, before we talk specifically about, what toys are dangerous, hazardous. Talk a little bit, about the mindset that, parents and other individuals who give toys should have in trying to make these young people happy.
Mm-hmm. So, what typically happens during Christmas time is that, you create this Christmas list and you want to get exactly what the children have asked for. And sometimes those things are appropriate and sometimes they are not. And so as you approach the holiday season and you're purchasing gifts for children and you're trying to make the best decision about what to buy, you have to keep the child's age in mind and try to find toys that are kind of specifically meant for this age group.
Age appropriate.
Age appropriate toys. And then the skill set that the children will have. And you have to keep in mind that small children, what they do, they tend to put things in their mouth, right? So you have to be thinking about safety as far as that's concerned. So if you have a small child and you want things that may be too big for them to swallow, right? So, just keeping safety in mind and buying age-appropriate toys, is kind of the baseline for what you want to be thinking about as you head to the stores and start to pick out things. It's not all about just what the child saw on television that he think would be, a great toy to have. Any toy that keeps a child's attention is going to be, something good, as long as it's age appropriate. Children, small children especially, they like things that are colorful. They like things, that just grab their imagination. And so you won't go wrong, having safety in mind first.
Yeah. Now, based on your knowledge, and I know you're not a toy manufacturer, toys or a salesperson.
Not that.
But based on your knowledge and experience as a pediatric physician, is there any category or class of toys or any specific kind of toy that we need to be wary of?
Well, I would say that, when we're talking about those things in a broad sense. The things that you kind of want to keep in mind is, about the materials and how things are made. When you're dealing with toys like dolls, things that are made out of fabric, then you want to try to make sure you steer away from things that are very flammable. So you want fire retardant kind of flame resistant kind of toys when you're dealing with fabrics. And then a lot of things are painted. They're colorful because children like color. And so, you want to steer away from things that may contain lead-based paint. And so you're looking at those kind of things, especially for the small kids where they tend to put things in their mouth. I'm probably going to repeat that theme a few times because that's something that we're really concerned about, swallowing things and small kids putting things in their mouth. That's especially painted items, because it's an easy way, if there's lead in the paints for them to end up with maybe some kind of lead poisoning or something.
And sometimes it can shed. Well, we're going to continue this conversation momentarily, but we're going to take a quick break. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, interviewing Dr. Henry LeBoyd, talking about child safety and toys and other kind of pediatric care. We'll be right back. Hello and happy holidays. This is Alex Habersham, publisher of the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages. I'm so happy to inform you that we are now in the process of gathering information for the 2017 Silver Anniversary Edition. As a matter of fact, if you are in business and you want to be represented, if you want the kind of exposure that the Black Pages can offer you, then we are offering a 15% December holiday special discount for your ad so you can gain exposure, not only from the Black Pages, but through our digital marketing services. So give us a call, 50% off the regular price of advertising for the Black Pages and our digital marketing. Call us at 478-464-0074. Happy holidays to you. We're back. I'm Alex Habersham, your host of A Call to Action, and I'm interviewing today Dr. Henry LeBoyd, a pediatric physician with Navison Health, and we're talking about, pediatric care and child safety and the treatment of children and how they're different and how we can keep them safe and healthy. And specifically, we are talking about toy safety and how we can keep our young people happy yet safe. So we're talking about toys and some of the dangers of toys and what kind of toys that we should provide our children with to make them happy yet keep them safe. Now, we've talked about some other things, but we want to talk about electronic toys and moving items. Kids get excited and they see things on TV. One of the things that I'm hearing Dr. LeBoyd infer is that the parent has to be the parent, and that the parent has to be cognizant of, well, you tell them about what they need to provide for their children.
Okay. So let's start with, the safety item as far as, there's toys that can, cause injury to your eyes, to your ears, particularly. And so, and just to your body, bodily harm. So we always cautious about toys that involve sharp objects, and then moving parts that are flying off, and some toys are designed that way. And so, when you're thinking about that, then you need to be thinking about older children, children who will be more responsible. We have far too many toy injuries. I think, the last data that we have from 2014 said that, we're somewhere around over 250,000 injuries per year. Children under 15, with injuries related to toys. So, being extra careful, about protecting sensitive organs, your sensory organs, your eyes, your ears. And so flying objects is something that, we want to be cautious about. And then things that are really loud, can cause damage to your hearing. And so, those particular, something that you want to keep in mind. In addition, I go on to say that, there's some toys, some newer toys that we're starting to see that, become fire hazards, that can become fire hazards. You may have seen, some of these YouTube videos where these hoverboards are catching on fire. And so, it's important when we start to talk about electrical toys, battery-operated toys, you may see, and this is how things typically go, that we try to do battery-operated toys for children that are less than 10 years old. We don't want them hanging around outlets trying to, plug things in and being responsible for that kind of thing. And then you'll also see in more recent day that now battery compartments are now where they're kind of locked. There's some kind of device to lock them or screw them in. And that's so that we can prevent children from taking out batteries or having access to batteries and then swallowing those. Swallowing batteries could be a cause of death, not just injury. That can be a cause of death. So we like battery-operated toys, and we also like those compartments that are locked. Some kind of way to secure the batteries in place where only an adult can take them out, remove them, and replace them when need be. And then, like saying about electrical toys, we like them UL approved. When you're talking about anything that needs to be plugged into an outlet, something like that. And then that's for children that's, I would say, greater than 10 years old is kind of what we like. The other thing, while I did mention hoverboards, protective safety equipment. So, if you're buying something like a bicycle or you're buying skateboard or something like that, then you also want to think about buying the helmet, buying the elbow pads, the knee pads, because those can be, sources of pretty significant injury where you're talking about fractured bones or skull fractures, things like that, which, pretty significant injury. And so protective equipment is also something that you want to keep in mind when you're purchasing. I would say leave a little bit in the fun to purchase protective equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing that we can kind of suggest is that oftentimes, since this is the information age, then one can do a little research on these toys too, to try to see if in fact there have been any accidents or incidents that, one would want to know in the event that a parent is interested in buying a toy. But what I'm hearing you say is that it takes conscientiousness as it relates to purchasing toys for our young people and getting items that would kind of make them happy. Now let's talk about, and a lot of people don't realize this, let's talk about when an accident or an incident happens, then why should they go to the pediatric emergency room?
Well, the pediatric emergency room, just like we've talked about before, is that it's designed to be able to respond to injuries as it relates to children in the appropriate way. There are some things in medicine in general that applies to all, but there are some certain things that apply to children specifically. And so, you're not going to find many adults who swallowed batteries, So knowing that this could be a cause of death, not just, is it there, whether we're going to leave it or whether we're going to remove it. We don't need to be thinking that way. We need someone who knows what type of battery was it. And then, what are we going to do about it, and whether we need to be talking to surgery right away, especially when you're dealing with things like magnets. Adults don't swallow magnets, so, when you're talking about an adult doctor, he may know how to respond right away, and he may stall for a minute just to try to figure out what the situation is. But I can tell you, a pediatric doctor, he's thinking about that kind of thing all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
If you don't mind, I'd like to say just a few words about supervision.
Thanks.
Feel free.
Yeah, you want to move over?
No. I just want to make sure that I get this in.
Go ahead.
And so, another thing that I think is really important to talk about with parents, and that everyone needs to hear, is a lot of times we'll let the kids go off and play, and don't take the time to read through the instructions of the toys that we're giving ourselves. And then sometimes it's also good to take that next step, which is to show the children how to operate these toys in a very safe manner. And so, I always like to say, those kind of things, that if you just take a few extra seconds, one, that toy may not end up broken right away, and the child will be able to enjoy it much longer. But two, now you have that safety piece that we're talking about, where you may not spend the rest of your Christmas day at the hospital if you just took, just that extra time to kind of go through the instructions, give the child, proper, a demonstration of how to operate whatever toy it is, in the right way. And then, and taking extra time to supervise. Sometimes, that extra supervision, throughout the course of the day, could be good, especially when it's new toys and things that children are unfamiliar with.
Right. This is a call to action.
Call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and I want to express my deepest and sincere appreciation to Dr. Henry LeBoyd for imparting very, very important and significant information as it relates to the caring and the treatment of children, along with child safety when one is considering buying toys and purchasing toys for our young people. I really, really appreciate it, man.
Thank you
for your doing it. And I guess one can just, if one is interested in learning more about the pediatric emergency room or the pediatric department at the medical center, they can just call the main office at Navison Health.
Yep, or look up the Children's Hospital. It's all going to be connected.
Yes.
It's all going to be connected.
Yeah, and look up the Children's Hospital. This is Dr. Henry LeBoyd, a pediatric physician who has honored us with his information and his presence. We really appreciate you, man. Great information.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right.
You too. We're back. I'm your host, Alex Habersham, again, talking to Chief Marvin Riggins, who is really providing some very, very important and significant and educational information that individuals ought to be educated on, because it's Christmas time.
That's right.
And let's talk about, how sometimes that season with, lighting and electricity and sockets and things of that nature can be hazardous if we are not careful.
Right. During this season, we ask especially that the citizens. I know that we love to decorate our homes and we love to put as many lights as we possibly can, but we ask that you really think cautiously about how many plugs you put into an outlet or a light strip, if you will. And we ask that, first off, one of the first things you do is make sure that the extension cord that you use is UL approved. If it's brown, you probably shouldn't be using it for that. You probably shouldn't be using it for that. So so you want to
now,
make
what
sure.
you're saying, I've seen. My mama used to do it, to take this brown cord and hook it to that brown cord and then stick that another brown cord in it and extend.
So, it's really not designed to handle that much type of...
What should one do?
They should go into one of the convenience stores, or when I say those stores, the big box stores that sells those types of strips that are UL approved. Look on the label. If it's UL approved and has 6 sockets on, then it's UL approved to handle that type of output that's going to it. And
they're usually not brown, are they?
And they're usually not brown. They're usually not. And so when you plug those in, and that one should go to one outlet, and that should be all on that outlet, because you're really maximizing the capacities of that wall outlet at that point in time. And you want to make sure that you if it's a live tree, you want to make sure it's well watered, that you don't let it dry out, because if it dries out, now you're heating up basically an element of content that will burn. It's a tree, and if it heats up enough, it dries out enough, it is subject to burn. And so unfortunately we have homes that have that inside of them, that they allow the trees to dry out, and they will ignite and catch fire. So that can be very, very dangerous. So please keep them moistened very, very well during the holiday season.
Well, December is winter time, and as you were thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking about, so you got kind of like a dual situation, because it's cold and it's Christmas time.
It is.
And so you got the possibility of electronic fires, and then you also got the possibility of house fires. So talk about prevent that, but also talk about, heaters and heating.
Yes.
Because I know oftentimes, when it's cold, people use by any means necessary.
Absolutely.
To get warm. So talk about that.
We do see a lot of that, unfortunately. And we're just now beginning to get into this year, the cold part of this cold snap of the season. And we see space heaters. And of course, again, when you're ready to purchase a space heater, they're allowable, they're legal, and they're a good source of heat. But please make sure you look on the back of it to make sure it too has been UL rated. That means it usually has a tip factor on it. That means if it tilts over, someone bumps into it, if it tilts over, it should shut itself off. And when it's, don't have it close, at least about 30 inches from something that is flammable. So if you can put it out in the middle of just airspace, that's the better place for it. But you don't want it up in corners where it's close to the curtains or anything of fabric, or even yourself, clothing, standing too close to it, because they're subject to catch your clothing on fire, and then you have another situation on your hands. So you have to be very, very cautious and careful with the space heaters in your homes.
Well, do they make gas heaters that cut off when they tilt?
Not the gas heaters. This is only electric heaters that have that abilities on them. The gas heaters aren't built with the tilt factor.
You really don't. Do you recommend using gas space heaters?
We really don't. We really don't recommend that. That's used like a campsite setting, something in the outside area when you're using those kerosene types or for a butane type of heat sources for that. But in the home, typically it's an electrical space heater.
But aren't there a lot of people who still have those gas space heaters with the flame
on their walls? They really do. There are a lot of space heaters that are plumbed in. Now that's plumbed in. That means they've been attached to the copper hosiery that goes along with it. So these are more designed to be a fixed set. So they are set usually in a place and has a source of gas
like in a fireplace.
In a fireplace. Yes.
But aren't there still some space heaters where people just take them and the gas heaters, and they hook up to the gas line, and then the radiation,
there are radiation type heaters out there for as far as the heat source is concerned. There's also the gas space heaters that's still out there in some of the older homes, and they're very viable, and those are good. You just have to be very careful. Make sure you clean them, because typically they've been off now for 6 or 8 months plus. So make sure you go in and blow them out and have them clean. If trained person, if you can have that done, that would be better, and have them to check it out, and then assess it and make sure the gas is flowing properly. Make sure your hose lines that's feeding the gas supply has no cracks in it or has no holes in it that you're leaking gas into your home.
www.makingblackpages.com